track for a two-step process in submitting a TSA that involves doing a 311 request for a traffic safety investigation, and then using the number that 311 issues for the traffic safety investigation, you submit the TSA questionnaire along with the commissioner approval.
Is that noted on the TSA website? I mean, I feel like I've read the TSA website pretty.
Yeah, Zach,
Like,
I don't know if that is 100% required, because the TSA form definitely says if there are previous 311 requests, but it doesn't require it. So it has not always been clear to me whether that's required or like DDOT does not make that clear.
Here is the DDOT flyer that says step 1, resident contacts DDOT with a street safety concern. Call 311, visit 311 online, or talk to your ANC commissioner. And I know that in our conversations with Cynthia 2 months ago, she's tracking TSAs based on their SR number. And some of the ones that she doesn't have, I don't know if a TSA number was ever submitted, and that could be a challenge and why she's not finding them. Sorry, a 311 request was never submitted. And again, I am in 100% concurrence with everyone on this call that it is confusing and not transparent. But there should be both a 311 request submitted and a TSA questionnaire submitted.
well, I absolutely can do that. That's no problem. It also says that the ANC commissioner needs to support it. Well, if I'm the one 311ing it and I'm the one filling out the TSA, then I don't think that, I mean, would you read it that way also? I mean,
yes, well, you are 100% correct. And if Cynthia told you that the commission needs to approve it, then either she is wrong or the rules have changed. Now,
and the thing is that I don't mind submitting it to the commission. The thing is that, you know, it's 121 days, like maybe sometime in 2022, there will be solutions or resolutions, or, you know what I mean? What I'm saying is, like, since we have so many days anyway, I was just trying to get it there.
right.
Start in the process. I don't want to wait until September, you know, whatever September is, the 5th, the 3rd, I don't know what it is, but anyway, you know what I mean? And then get a letter, and then,
Yeah.
so that's why.
No, you are right, and I know that Celeste came to me a couple months ago and said, I have a TSA, you know, should we put this before the whole committee and commission? And I said, no, just do it yourself. Because similarly, right, you don't want to, that's like 5 extra weeks at least. In your case, Fiona, it won't be until September. So that doesn't make any sense. So I did, I mean, we'll start the meeting in a second, but I did get a note from Cynthia that she is running late, but she is planning, she will be here in a couple minutes, but we had another issue before that anyway. So I will leave this to you, Fiona, to ask for clarification, or if you'd like, I'm happy to ask for clarification. The one thing I will note is that we heard Director Lott say that 1, DDOT knows the TSA system is broken, and 2, there will be a new system in place at the end of this summer. So it is possible that there will actually be a new system in place, and that something about it is already in motion, and that's where Cynthia is getting that. It's also possible that she's just incorrect. So we'll get to the bottom of that.
And I don't want to belabor the point, but just to confirm what you've been saying, Zach, when gosh, she moves to Richmond and I forget her name. Traffic engineered on Twitter.
Emily.
Yeah, when Emily Dolphy designed that form, the intent was to reduce the barriers to submission, which was why I think almost word for word, Emily told me that the intent was to give your SMD, your commissioner, a heads up in case there were duplicative requests. But other than that, there was not a desire to require like an entire ANC to come sort of agreement of, not that you guys would have problem with the consensus, but and that it was a standalone process. You did not have to submit an independent but corresponding 311 request. So like Zach said, they've either made it harder, which would be one way to fix it. But yeah, that everything you guys have been saying is correct.
And I appreciate that background, Gordon, that came through Emily. I would not be surprised, unfortunately, if DDOT's solution to easing their backlog is to make it more difficult to submit them, therefore making fewer of them, therefore easing their backlog. But TBD. And with that, let's start this meeting. Hello, everyone. You're all here. The first order of business is considering a resolution to support safety enhancements at 16th U Street and New Hampshire. This is a resolution in support of ANC 1B's resolution. It also very much takes a lot of work from ANC 2B. This is a fun intersection that intersects, I believe it's 2 wards, 3 ANCs, and I think 5 SMDs at the intersection of U Street, 16th Street, and New Hampshire. And so I know that sometimes in the past we have written a resolution that says we support this previous, we support this other ANC's thing that is related to us. Not only is this related to us, and we should support the ANC 1B, but it's on our border, and so it is very much related to us. So let me just introduce the concept for those who are not familiar. I'm certain that all of you have walked and ridden and driven and rode a bus by this intersection all the time. Essentially on U Street, next to the Starbucks at the southwest corner of 16th Street, New Hampshire. And I guess at the opposite corner, there are what are known as slip lanes, where there is a traffic island creates a gap in the road where instead of driving all the way up to the intersection, one can slip through the intersection to make a turn. And this occurs from westbound U Street, east, this is gonna be confusing. Eastbound U Street, west of 16th Street, to turn south on New Hampshire, and westbound U Street, east of 16th Street, to turn north on New Hampshire. And there has been an effort by traffic safety Vision Zero advocates citywide to remove slip lanes because they allow a driver to barely slow down before making a turn as opposed to coming up to an intersection. I know a number of years ago there was a successful removal of the slip lane on Columbia Road to turn onto northbound onto Adams Mill Road, which helped out our pedestrians. Some of you may be familiar that 1 month ago on June 18th, a pedestrian was struck at this intersection, U Street, 16th Street, and New Hampshire. And so the request from ANC 1B, essentially they've asked for a traffic safety assessment, and they had a resolution behind their traffic safety assessment, and ANC 2B agreed with them, as it has a slip lane on its territory as well. And ANC 2B also added that once a traffic safety assessment is completed, that DDOT should meet with representatives of ANC 1C and ANC 1B and ANC 2B to discuss, and of course community stakeholders, to discuss how they can improve that intersection. So for me, this is a no-brainer. I don't know if there are any questions. Other fellow committee members, anything?
It's certainly a no-brainer to me too. I've certainly almost gotten hit in the crossing that slip lane as a pedestrian. So it'd be great if that were no longer a thing.
Yes.
Completely agree. Thanks, Commissioner Gold, for putting it together.
I'm going to have to give a lot of credit to Commissioner, I want to say Holden from 2B, who sent me their resolution, and it was very easy to simply delete all the 2Bs and insert 1C. Other members of the community have comments or questions? All right, let's then take a vote on this. All in favor of moving this resolution to the full ANC in September, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous. Very cool. Let's move on to agenda 2. Cynthia, hello. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Hello, thank you so much for having DDOT tonight. Just want to make sure, is there anything else on the agenda afterwards? I just want to be mindful of the time I take up.
You are the whole agenda, unless there is a caveat to that, which is if an answer to a question that we have requires a committee vote on TSAs from our colleague Commissioner Clem. But why don't we start with any updates you're able to provide off the bat?
Great. Okay, so I will begin working through the list I have. Okay, so and this is just generally speaking because a lot of the TSAs that were sent out in December that I worked with the Reed Cook Neighborhood Association to get those service requests in, a lot of the resolutions in the specific requests in the questionnaires referred to a lot of illegal parking as a major concern. So I do want to note, because because DDOT is not the enforcing agency for illegal parking, DPW is. We did not want to automatically say, well, because it's illegal parking, we want to go ahead and move forward. We wanted to look at every angle. Well, if illegal parking is a concern, perhaps is there signage we can insert or markings that we can do on the ground to go ahead and make sure that we're trying to work with our sister agency as much as possible to make sure that's something that we can mitigate. But also, I do recommend, just with with parking concerns in general, to reach out to DPW or the MOKers and just give them a general list. So the same list for the TSAs or other locations that you all have, just to make sure that those locations are on DPW's radar when going ahead and enforcing parking, especially during rush hour or just times that you think that illegal parking is more heavy, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon, and just note those times so they're able to go out there and assist with that. But I'll go ahead and get started with oh, actually, on that note, I did have one question from the safety team. So for cars parked illegally, like I said, that was in a lot of the TSA questionnaires. Would you all say that is an issue that was seen a lot more during the pandemic because of the high volume of cars or the high volume of people that were at home more, or was it an issue prior to the pandemic as well?
So I'll let Commissioner Clem speak.
I think you're still on mute.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I think Commissioner Clem can speak to Reed Cook. My observation was less that people were parked illegally because they were home, and more people were parked illegally because they knew that DPW was not doing enforcement for a year.
Okay, that makes sense. That was something we were asking ourselves internally as well. And if enforcement was a concern, that's why I wanted to go ahead and note to reach out to Mokers, to reach out to DPW and 311, but we also wanted to make sure we noted that internally. So when parking team had a call with DPW, they're able to go ahead and mention that as well as something that we're just seeing throughout the ward versus highlighting specific spots, but just to go ahead and mention that it's something that's not just happening because of the pandemic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll let Commissioner Clem answer as well. But again, I think the challenge that I have seen, and I don't want to say it's because of the pandemic, but it certainly became clear during the pandemic, is that people are leaving their cars wherever they can. And unfortunately, there isn't any level, there's essentially impunity for your average vehicle owner to park illegally, or a delivery truck or driver to stand or stop illegally. And so again, because they have not faced any challenges for doing that, they are just doing it more and more. Commissioner Clem, do you have any thoughts on whether this is a issue prior to the pandemic in your neighborhood?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of both. I agree with what you just said, Commissioner Gold. I think that that after the parking enforcement notifications went up and around on social media, et cetera, I think that more people are parking legally. I just know that on this side of the neighborhood with not a lot of commercial activity, we do not get the parking enforcement. So I think the issue is just generally parking enforcement. People know that they can park in 1 CO8 certainly for hours, if not weeks, there are rarely tickets or ticketing going on in 1 COA. And that's before the pandemic and currently.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you for that background. Again, I do recommend reaching out to 311 for those specifically parked illegally, to share their tags, whether they're left there for a long period of time or not. I think the turnaround for those requests are 24 to 72 hours, I believe, from PEMA. PEMA's parking enforcement, a branch of DPW. But if you have any questions, just go ahead and let me know. But I just wanted to make sure I gave the team the clarity on that to see if it's something something you all saw before, so in 2019 or so on, or if it's something that was new as of 2020. But I'll go ahead and start with 19th Street and Biltmore. So I don't know what would be easier. Should I drop the service request in the chat as I'm talking about it? Or how do you think would be the best way so we're all on the same page?
I think, let's see, 19th and Biltmore, that should be this one. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, so that was right from March 2020.
Yes. So high visibility crosswalk is coming to that intersection. Our markings team is working right now on a timeline, but the work order has been submitted. It's just a matter of getting the team out there. I know they also have a backlog of markings, but they have that now of a way to respond to that TSA. So the high visibility crosswalk is coming, but something to note, and the reason why it's taking a little longer is because an NOI will be issued. It is estimated that about 4 parking spots will be lost on the 1900 block of Biltmore, and a ramp will be added as well to make sure the crosswalk is ADA compliable. But we want to make sure that we give ample time to respond to the NOI. So the NOI should be released sometime by mid-August to you and to the community to allow comment, whether that's 30 days, which is the typical comment period, or 51 days if the public health emergency is extended after this month. So whichever one it is, I will be sure to give you all the heads up on that, but I wanted to let you know that that NOI should be coming down the pipeline for that specific high visibility crosswalk. And then the stop sign will be, stop sign. A stop sign will be added, to remove the yield that's in that intersection as well, to ensure that for that high visibility crosswalk, people and cars are able to stop and have a distance view. So that stop sign, should be 25 feet from that crosswalk. So that's coming near 20th and Biltmore, near the triangle area. Do you need me to pull that up on maps, or
I know where that is if other commissioners have questions, but it's right by, there's a little triangle island between Biltmore and 20th. And so
Yeah, it's a beautiful little park there, the Biltmore Triangle Park.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yes, and that's where the stop sign is coming, to make sure that that yield, that people either go the wrong way or it has caused concerns based on the TSA questionnaire, that it has easement for not just drivers, but pedestrians and cyclists that are around that area, just to make sure everyone's safe. So a stop sign is coming there. And again, if a parking spot is removed because of that too, we'll make sure to include that in the NOI. But I know that parking is sometimes a hot button issue for some residents, so we wanted to go ahead and give you the heads up now before that NOI comes out next month. And for 2412 19th Street, so that's this service request. I can go ahead and put it in the chat.
That's the one at Midgewood Place.
Yes, around that area. So it was something Commissioner Pooley worked on before when she was in the ANC. From my understanding, the safety team was in contact with her, and she wanted to continue moving forward with this. They reached out to her even after she moved out the area, and the consensus was that a crosswalk will be added, but an NOI is also needed because a parking spot, or a parking spot and a half. So depending on the feet that are marked when the technician makes the markings, will determine whether it's one full parking spot plus half of another, or just 2 spots. But parking will be removed, so an NOI will be issued for that as well next month. So I am just sharing that so you all are aware that parking will be lost, but we will get that crosswalk right there at that intersection to make sure that it's visible, and as well as a safe crossing for pedestrians. I think the stop sign will still be there, so that's not going to be changed. Let me go ahead and pull that up actually, so I can double check that.
And I appreciate that DDOT is thinking about the amount of distance between crosswalks and actually going about in a more holistic way, providing daylighting for those. So personally, I'm glad about that.
Yes, well, once you hear the others, you'll hear that there's some signs that are moving up some. So we're going to be taking away some parking to make sure that when cars are backing up, for example, like if they're pulling out of a spot, just in case, to make sure that pedestrians are safe, they're not backing into the crosswalk. So we're going to push some signs up forward too, based on these TSAs, to make sure that because a lot of them did mention that visibility was a concern, and where there were no trees or tree branches that needed to be trimmed, we wanted to look at visibility from that standpoint as well, to make sure that pedestrians had a safe crossing, as well as if a larger vehicle did park somewhere, if the stop sign could be moved to a higher post, perhaps, so it's more visible if a truck is blocking that area. And if not, how else to remedy that. So I know in some spots that I'll mention tonight, markings will be added to the streets, or sorry, to the roads, to note a hard stop on the ground, and then the word stop will physically be sprayed on the road. And I know I mentioned that during the last meeting, so after you all gave the okay with that, I shared it with the safety team as well, that that's something that you all are okay with happening to any of the intersections where speeding was mentioned as a concern, or just being able to have that visibility of the stop sign.
I like it.
Sorry, and please let me know if I'm bouncing around too much.
So the number that you just put in, 1900970025, that doesn't have a record in 311, and I have a different number that you previously gave for that TSA.
24. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, that was something else. Yes, I have
This one.
I'm sorry about that. It's this one.
Perfect.
Yeah, you shared it as well. I'm sorry. That's the one.
On the same page.
Yes. And then I have next on my list Calorama and Champlain Street. So that's 20. Let me actually just put it here. That's this service request. Let me go ahead and actually pull that up on the map while I'm looking at their feedback.
Oh, perfect.
So,
That's one that we didn't have on your file before. Nope, no, you did have one. Sorry.
so something I do want to note, I know a lot of the TSAs want, because we met and discussed the entire list. So some of the TSA specifically that were looped in with the Reed Cook Neighborhood Association were very close to each other in proximity. So we didn't close out the service request, but when looking at it, we did group them together, if that makes sense, because the blocks were so close to each other. So if I am talking about it together, I'll pull up the map on my end so I can mention which northwest or northeast corner I'm talking about, so it makes sense when I'm talking about the changes that are coming for that. But with Calorama and Champlain, we're seeing that the tree could block the stop sign. So let me go ahead and so if you're looking, let me see if I can actually just share my screen so it's easier. Chrome tab.
The share screen button at the bottom there.
Yes. Are you able to see my screen?
Not at the moment, no.
Please grant. It says, please grant browser access to screen recording.
Yeah, you have to allow that to.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to. Now I'm messing with it in my settings, so I can show it on the map at least, so it makes a little more sense visually how I'm describing it. It won't let me do it. Okay. So I pulled up the map on Google Maps and I'm looking at Calorama and Champlain Street, so the intersection, but I'm facing towards the colorful row houses. So I'm not sure if you all are able to see on maps, and I'm sorry, I'm not able to share my screen for whatever reason. My settings isn't.
Are you all able to see my screen here?
Yes.
Thank you for pulling yours up. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why it
So
won't.
this looking at the houses on Champlain Street.
Yes, right there. So at that intersection right there to the right of your mouse, there is a stop sign, but the tree in the back just looks like right now, it's big, but the branches could come out more. So we're going to work with urban forestry to cut down some of those branches just to make sure that the sign is more visible. But we're also going to put a hard stop on the ground. So the markings that I mentioned before, they're going to come there. Let me go ahead and pull up the rest of my notes. The 20-foot stop line is going to be on the ground to note that stop. And a parking spot is going to be removed on that same corner where those row houses are, simply because it is an intersection and we want to make sure that the car, I know that on Google Images, it's a little smart car parked there right now, and I know those cars are not a correct measure of what a compact car can be. So yes, that small car fits there, but a normal bigger compact car will not fit there. So we want to make sure that that driveway is not blocked. So when NOI will not be issued for that, simply because it's just regulation that the sign has to be a specific amount of feet from, and I'm happy to share the link to that, but from the driveway. So we want to make sure that we're in compliance with that, so that no parking sign will come in a little bit more, just to make sure a bigger car does not block the driveway of that. I believe it's an apartment building, and the residents are able to come out of there, but also when making the left turn from Calorama onto Champlain Street, that a car is not perhaps making their turn too sharp and accidentally going that way towards the driveway.
Sorry, so yeah, if you, where is that parking spot being removed? That's on this corner here, or?
On Champlain Street, right there on the 2300 block, right there, where there's a driveway. I believe it's the back part of that building.
I think this layer is not working. Okay.
The smart car shows up on Street View. It's the garage entrance and maybe exit also of I think the apartment building that fronts 18th Street.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm looking at Google Maps through Street View right now.
Right about here.
Yes, right about there.
My concern, and I'm sure you guys, your team has studied this. My concern is that when I'm coming up Champlain, a driver coming down Calorama cannot see me coming up Champlain because of a car that's parked here or parked here. And there's like the as you can see, the road is curved, not curved, but comes in at an angle. So there isn't a direct view from the driver who is stopped at Calorama down Champlain Street. And so I certainly have had instances where I am coming up Champlain on my bike, and as you know, on Champlain there's no stop sign, so I have the right of way. but I am cut off by a driver who may have not seen me because of a obstructed view from a car parked here or parked here. And I don't think they can legally park in either of those, but it's where they're stopped.
Yeah,
So
I don't think so either. I'm looking at the sign now.
The, can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. On Champlain, on the east side of Champlain at Calorama, the cars come all the way up to, there's no crosswalk, there's no nothing. And I don't think they have, and the cars don't have 25 feet there. I think they only have about 10. So adding to the point that there is a lack of visibility at that corner.
Yeah, so thank you, Commissioner Clem. That's good context. So I think that's what it is. I think the cars that park, and perhaps they are parked legally here on the south side of Calorama, they block the view down Champlain of the vehicle operator who would be turning left from Calorama.
Okay, so I'll mention perhaps pulling the pole that's also on Champlain Street back a little bit to make sure that it's visible for the cars coming from Calorama. But just so I'm clear, are you all asking or wanting a stop sign at that intersection but on Champlain Street?
I don't think that's necessary, assuming that the drivers yield their right of way from Calorama. I think that Champlain's a small enough street that doesn't need to be an all-way parking, all-way stop. I don't know, Commissioner Clem, if you have another perspective on that. I know that I have heard from constituents of Commissioner Bowles that cars travel quickly down this street, and so potentially a stop sign would slow them, but I can't speak to that myself.
I don't necessarily think a three-way stop sign is needed, although there does need some traffic calming measures, especially for the southbound cars coming into that intersection on Champlain. They drive rather quickly, and there are no pedestrian crosswalks there. So Calorama ends at Champlain, and there's no zebra striping until you get down to the dog leg of Calorama, closer to Marie Reed. And so what I'm saying is it's very easy. I guess what I'm saying is it's just very easy to for too much to happen in that intersection. Pedestrians are walking across the street, not in zebra striping. There are delivery trucks on the corner. There's very little sight visibility. So there's just a lot. I mean, there's just a lot going on. So I don't know about stop signs necessarily, but maybe some other calming measures, maybe some pedestrian crossing, just to make it more visible that everybody should be slowing down at that area.
Okay, great. I will go ahead and make a note that you all are open to having a crosswalk at that intersection. Let me go ahead and what else? Let's share space. Okay, so I want to make sure I emphasize again everything that's coming to that intersection. So it would be the tree trimmings and making sure that the stop sign is visible, the hard markings on the ground to reiterate the stop sign coming on Calorama Road. A spot will be removed from the driveway, which technically shouldn't be there because it could block the driveway if a large enough vehicle parks right by that sign. Again, an NOI is not needed for that, just to make sure that, because it's being changed to make sure that the pole is in compliance and that we're in compliance on our end as well, where we're installing that. And actually, since we're on that strip, let me see if I can go ahead and pull up the service request regarding the intersection we just mentioned below by the next crosswalk. Let me go ahead and insert a picture. I just took a screenshot of it. No, actually, that's not how we put it in. How do I'm sorry, I'm trying to put a picture in the chat. Am I not able to drag a screenshot picture in the Zoom chat?
That's correct.
Okay. I see that you posted a link specifically to a view on Google Map. Do I just copy the link and just put that in the chat to get there?
Yep.
And I'm sorry for the technical questions. I'm still messing around with some screen sharing because I can't do that on my end for some reason. Great. So Calorama, the 1700 block of Calorama Road. Let me go ahead and pull up that service request so we can go ahead and talk about that.
I apologize about that. I am back now. Sorry if I missed anything.
The Google Street View link that Cynthia just posted is where we're at now.
Yes, you didn't miss much except me not being too tech savvy.
That's okay. Could I ask if you, oh, sorry. Yeah, I think you might need to repost it so that I can see it if that's not too much to ask. Thank you.
It's right here. So I have to pull up the service request again, but it is the TSA for the 1700 block of Calorama Road. So there are 2 cars parked, excuse me, on the opposite ends of the crosswalk. I'm not sure if you all can see it based on the image, but both sides will have, again, the poles pulled away from the crosswalk. So that way, when cars are backing out, they are not going into the crosswalk. If somebody's in there, we're avoiding any safety concerns as well to make sure that everyone is safe while crossing. And we want to make sure that cars are not blocking that crosswalk because the sign is too close. Again, if a large vehicle parks there, people won't be able to safely use the ramp as well as the crosswalk. I'm trying to go ahead and pull up that service request. Give me 1 second so I can go ahead and share it with you in the chat as well.
Is this the one at the intersection of 17th and Calorama or one for the 1700 block of Calorama?
17th and Calorama.
Yeah, I think that's this.
I don't think this is 17 and Calorama. This is
No, this is Champlain Calorama,
yeah.
excuse me.
But this is the one, Cynthia, that I have a service request that was apparently accidentally closed.
Yes, it was. And I followed up with that internally. It was, again, closed on accident. They're still working on it. They said it was an error in CityWorks, our system. So we are sorry for that, but we're still working on it. So we'll be sure to share updates. And again, so the parking is being moved up some because we don't want that crosswalk to be blocked.
Cool.
And again, it touches on the visibility concern that was at that intersection. I know one of the main ones that we spoke about last time that was a priority to the ANC that I want to make sure we highlight is 1801 Florida Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the busy intersection with Street and 18th Street. So is that the correct one I'm looking at? Sorry, let me go ahead and pull up the map. Yes. So again, we spoke about this being one of the many, but that's a priority to the ANC. So we want to make sure we look at this from all angles. Again, enforcement is a concern because cars may be illegally parked on Florida, which makes it harder for cars to turn or for cars to even maneuver in that intersection. So we want to make sure that DPW is looped in on that to help enforce parking and or towing if needed. A lot of the markings that are done in that area will be repainted to make sure it's emphasized when cars are coming up from 18th onto Florida, so to the right onto U Street, that cars are able to see the signal markings on which lane to go to if they're making a right or if they're going up 18th Street, as well as in which lane to be in, excuse me, if they're making a left turn. So all the markings will be repainted, if faded. I know that most, if not all, are a little worn out. So we just want to make sure we touch them up to make sure we're looking at it from every angle for safety and also visibility from cars coming at all directions. We're also looking at a delayed pedestrian signal. So perhaps having pedestrians start a few seconds before moving, a few seconds before the vehicles do, to allow them more time to get across the street or across the intersection safely before the cars start moving, is a delayed pedestrian signal, even though it was not included in the questionnaire, something that you all are open to.
I will, so I believe in the southbound direction and I guess the crosswalk that crosses on the south side of Florida across 18th Street, those already have leading pedestrian indicators. If they were longer, that would be better. I think that southbound 18th has one already, and I believe, if not, it certainly should. And then the cross across 18th Street also has one, again, that could be longer.
Okay, that's helpful to know. So I know it's something the safety team was looking to do, but wanted to make sure the ANC was okay with it. And if it's something that's already done, I just want to go ahead and confirm. And I'll ask them to just go ahead and add more time to make sure that pedestrians can get across safer and just get that head start before the cars start moving in the directions that they're going. And then
while we're at this intersection, sorry, let me see if I can. So there is on the island here, there is a no left turn sign, and the angle of the sign, I don't know if it's telling drivers on 18th Street that they can't turn left on Florida, or drivers on Florida that they can't turn left up 18th Street. It's like positioned right here on an angle almost. And I often see vehicles turning left from northbound 18th to Florida. I do rarely see them turning northbound from Florida onto 18th, but I'm not sure which is in the wrong there. So if that sign could be better positioned, that would be super great.
Point about signage. I know the safety team is looking into what additional signage to add to that intersection, whether it's more no turn on red signs, depending on if it's no left turn on red, no right turn on red, whatever it may be, to just minimize the amount of cars continuing to flow in sometimes confusing directions for either pedestrians, cyclists, or drivers, just to make sure that everyone is safe. And then also emphasizing the hard stop lines in front of the crosswalks where cars should be stopping when the light turns red, but I know most of them block the crosswalk. So we want to go ahead and emphasize where they should be stopping in order to leave room at the crosswalk that's right in front of Lucky Buns.
Has there been any thought, Cynthia, into putting bike boxes at the front of the intersections too? Because I know that I see, especially northbound 18th Street in the afternoon and southbound 18th Street at various times, that a lot of bicyclists collect. And so if there was a leading indicator light and they were able to get out ahead of traffic, I think it would be useful if there was like a bike box at the start of the intersection there. I don't know if that's something the team has thought of.
I will go ahead and share it with them to see, and I will also speak with Vision Zero about that as we're all working on this TSA. I know that this intersection is also bike heavy, so I can see them exploring that, but I'll be sure to share that with them and then get back to you on if that's something that they will move forward with. But just in case they ask me for it, is it something the ANC is okay with if they do end up approving something involving the bike boxes?
Does anyone have any questions or concerns with that? I'm in favor of that. It lets me get across the intersection faster.
That's fine.
If you're talking
Great.
about if you're talking about going north on 18th Street, I think that's a great idea. I just think that also if you're giving a lead time to the cyclists, then the people coming south and taking a left turn on U Street will take advantage of that lead time and not give it to the cyclist.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to remember, Cynthia. Thank you. That's an excellent point, Commissioner Glenn. I'm trying to remember if that intersection has a left turn on green arrow only sign. I just don't recall. I know I see vehicles sneaking left in between north traveling vehicles, but I think for reasons such as that, and for reasons such as the Metro buses coming down, trying to run the light and getting stuck behind an illegally parked car in front of the pizza place or the cash place, and then blocking the entire intersection, I think that southbound 18th Street would be a really useful sign. Would be a left turn on left on green arrow only. I'd also note, I believe there's a sign for, I don't know if they're actually located, there's a sign for an ATE at 18th and California, a block up. To me, it makes a great deal of sense, especially with the city adding more ATE, to have a traffic enforcement red light cameras at 18th and Florida. That just given the amount of conflicts I see there, and as Commissioner Clem points out, the number of left turning vehicles who cut off the delayed pedestrian signal, that would be useful.
Thank you for that feedback. I'll go ahead and let them know too, to follow up with the team to see if an AT can come to that intersection. I know that involving cameras of any sort take a bit longer because the data has to show that there's a need for the enforcement, but I'll go ahead and share that with them. But we'll go ahead and move forward with the markings and the signage installation that needs to come forth, and then if a camera is deemed necessary, then that'll come down the line, but I'll make sure to keep you all in the loop with that. But let me go ahead and make a note of that now.
Hey, Zach, just because the agenda is kind of wide open, I was wondering how many of these TSAs you were going to go through.
I believe there are 20 of them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
But I don't know if all of them have updates.
I'll move on to Euclid and Champlain Street lot.
Okay.
That's this one, so we're on the same page. Oh, and I
We lost your voice there, Cynthia.
just saw your
Cynthia, are you there? Having a bit of, okay. We cannot, oh, you muted yourself, so I guess. There. Am I freezing or is everyone else freezing?
No, her microphone icon shows that she's talking, or it did a second ago, but everything was garbled.
All right. Cynthia, can you hear us now and can you speak now?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep, great. Go ahead, I can hear you, but I know that I'm having.
I can hear Zach. I just can't. Cynthia comes in and out.
Okay.
Cynthia, if you can hear me, you might try switching to your phone for the audio, which is something you can do next to the mute button where the microphone icon is. And you call in and can speak through that.
Sorry, everyone, for the technicals. Okay, I see that.
Cynthia?
Hello, are you all able to hear me? Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you for putting up with our system, but we're glad you were able to call back.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi at home. I mean, everything else seems to be working, but it's Zoom that keeps freezing on my end. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the problem is, but I can continue to provide updates over the phone through this way, if that's okay with you all.
Yeah, that would be great. So you were bringing up, I think you were at Euclid and Champlain.
Yes, that's correct. And I had shared the service request in the chat. So with Euclid and Champlain, let me go ahead and look at the address so I can visually see it as well, but I'll go ahead and explain the changes that are coming to that intersection. And again, I believe this is one of the TSAs that had quite a few that were in or around the same area. So I think we looped in another one, but I'll go ahead and share those service requests. And I'll go ahead and send a follow-up email as well sometime later this week to make sure I include everything following this call. But for this intersection, let me go ahead and get started with Unity Park. So on Champlain Street, the parking that's facing Unity Park, so I'm not sure if you all are able to view it on Google Maps on Street View, but there is an orange pole there for car sharing vehicles. I believe it was for Zipcar, but I don't think it's solely for Zipcar anymore. It may be for any ride sharing vehicle. But either way, the pole is conflicting with the stop sign that's there, so it's blocking the visibility. So that pole has to come back some to make sure that, one, the stop sign is more visible, but two, that it's in compliance with being at least 20 feet from the crosswalk. And another thing that the safety team is looking at doing is moving that stop sign up the street light a bit more, so that way, in case a truck parks there, that stop sign is still visible at that intersection. I know that was a concern as well noted on the questionnaire, so I just want you all to know that that stop sign is moving up because there's enough room to do so on that pole. Again, because that sorry, are you all able to hear me?
Yes, and I think so. I see that there is the Zipcar, the car share car there, and so you're going to move. Yeah. So you're moving that back so that the stop sign has more space from the crosswalk.
Yes, that's correct, and so that the pole is in compliance with being at least 20 feet from the crosswalk. But also, something that may happen is, let me go ahead and pull this up again. So because the parking is too close to the intersection, that was a concern that was noted in the questionnaire, that pedestrian safety, we want to make sure that that spot is pulled back to make sure that the cars are not parked too close to the crosswalk. But there may be a need to remove both parking spots that are on the side of Unity Park. That's why I brought up that side first. And if there is a need, an NOI will be issued to make sure you all are in that process. But the reason why that side was picked versus the other side, we wanted to make sure that the spots that are used by the businesses continue to be utilized by them. We don't want to take away their parking if they use it, but we want to make sure that cars have the accessibility of coming down both lanes as well as bikes, because the road is a bit smaller. We want to make sure that there is not an issue. I know if you all are looking at it through Street View on Google Maps, there is a picture of a truck that's actually parked in the middle of the road. So it's actually harder for two cars to come down that lane when cars do that. So we want to make sure that there's easier accessibility for cars going out towards Columbia or down towards Champlain, as well as bicycles that are using that strip.
I appreciate that this vehicle didn't want to park in the no parking zone, so instead he just stopped in the middle of the street.
And it served as a perfect example when the safety team and I were looking at this for the usage of a two-way street not being possible if this happened.
Sorry, I see we have a question from Brian. Brian, go ahead.
Hey, sorry. Hey, Cynthia. I'm with this is Brian with the Adams Morgan bid. I just had one quick question, and this may be something outside your area, but in that same spot where in the street view where the stop sign and the Zipcar sign, there's a gray utility box there. that we've literally gone through at least 2 departments of DDOT and can't figure out who it belongs to. So just in case your team has some sort of special knowledge, it's one of these things that's being used as a toilet in the park, and we'd love for it to go away if nobody's actually using it. So just want to throw that out there. And also to the commissioners, just so you know, the farmers market has been using this side as well as the other sides to park their vehicles for the market on Saturdays. So just to throw that out there, they've been using pretty
Brian,
much.
how has that been going so far in terms of, I know that they have asked for residents to not be parked there so that they can park there. Has that been working out so far?
I think the first couple of weeks it went fairly well. Last week we got an email from her on Saturday that all of the parking was occupied. So she's had an exchange with MPD and DPW and probably DDOT as well, and the council member trying to come up with a solution. And honestly, I have not been super closely following that email chain, so I'm not sure if there was a resolution. But yeah, it was trickier this past weekend than it had been.
Okay, that's helpful.
Do you know if the, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
I was going to mention if, do you know if the farmer's market has active permits and that's why they're trying to utilize the spots and people are going against those permits by parking there? Is that the problem?
Yeah, so they've got the no parking permits. They're, as I'm sure you know, the DDOT sign shop is not a quick process. So I think they have permanent signs in the queue, but as it is now, they have the paper signs, and people are ignoring it. And DPW doesn't do a lot of towing on the weekends. So
Are the signs placed at least 72 hours in advance?
yeah, I mean they've been doing them and getting them, as far as I know. And again, this isn't me doing it, but from what I understand, they've had them verified for the whole, or for large blocks of time at a time.
Okay, I'm just trying to think about all the ways they can perhaps let the community know in advance that these spots are not to be used during that time period. Another thing that I would recommend as well, if they're able to come out a few hours before the farmers market comes out, if people are parked in those spots and because the permits are active, if DPW can help with towing or can help with ticketing, or MPD, either one. If it's a Saturday, I know Sundays are a little trickier for DPW to come out with towing.
Yeah, and as far as I know, they've been doing that. In fact, I think they had an arrangement with the hotel for their security to come out and drop some cones in the spaces when they're empty, so they don't get filled up. But if somebody parks there from the day before, that doesn't help.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm not able to share my email in the chat, but if one of the commissioners can do so, I'm more than happy to work with you on this too and make sure if there's anything we can do and with DDOT's parking team to just make sure that everything that the farmers market needs we can help with, at least to our extent, and just to make sure that the public gets as much awareness that these spaces will be utilized during that time period, just to make sure they're able to properly use their permits during that time period.
Great, thank you.
Cynthia, I put your email into the chat for Brian.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm not sure what's going on with my computer access, but thank you. Let me go back to the update. So with Euclid and Champlain, so our Vision Zero team, so this is now going back to that intersection, but on the strip of Euclid in front of the Line Hotel. So the Vision Zero team is working on remarking the road with the bike lane that's on Euclid Street.
I know a lot of people who will be very happy for that.
That's great to hear.
Is the sorry, is the hotel still using that as a valet spot, or is that not an officially implemented thing?
So it's from what I see, and again, it's hard to see because the markings are vacant. But the bike lane is outside of the parking lane. It's not along the curb. And so I think that what is supposed to be painted there are parking spots on the curb and a bike lane to the left of the parking lane, just as exists on Euclid, on the next, on the other side of Champlain. But I'm not positive about that because there is not.
I got you.
Are there.
Yeah, no, there's one angle on Street View where that shows that. I got it. Thank you.
No, that's correct, Commissioner. So it's supposed to just be Zone 1 resident permit parking, and then no parking on street cleaning days. And then as the signage notes, no parking as it gets closer to the stop sign. And then the bike lane is on the left of the vehicles and it goes up Euclid. So that's why Vision Zero is trying to repaint that to make sure that the bike lane is properly utilized and to make sure that cars are not double parking there, just to make sure that bikes are able to utilize that area. I know right now, based on the pictures too, as you can see, it's hard to tell that it's a bike lane because the markings are faded. I mentioned that the stop sign will be relocated because of visibility higher on that pole, and then at that same intersection, but on the corner of Unity Park, so across the street from the hotel, but at that corner on Unity Park, that stop sign is a little hard to see because of the tree branches. So we're going to work with urban forestry at that corner as well to make sure that the tree branches are trimmed as needed to make sure that, one, that stop sign is visible, but two, that cars are coming to a full stop to ensure safety of the bike lane, so the cyclists that are using that, as well as the pedestrians. And I know there's a stop sign on the other intersection, so if that needs to come up a bit more for visibility, we're going to pull that up as well. We're just going to see once moving the other one if that's something that's needed as well, because I know it's an always stop, so we want to make sure that it matches with the other stop sign, if that makes sense. So we don't want to miscalculate them. Let's see which, and then for Columbia and Euclid, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to that strip right here. So right in front of LE liquor store, we can see based on the street view when we were looking at this that although the sign is further back, there's a car illegally parked right behind where that.
I think that's Columbia and Euclid, not Columbia. Oh, sorry, Columbia and Champlain, not Columbia and Euclid.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. Yes, Columbia and Champlain. So right at that intersection, what we thought was best to make sure that, one, pedestrians are safe, but two, that visibility is not blocked by somebody illegally parked. It seems that based on the picture, it was a compact car, but if it were a truck, it would be harder to see. What the safety team will do is, and if you all are okay with it, is install flexi posts to make sure that cars do not park there and rather start parking behind the pole, and that space is a lot safer for pedestrians to go ahead and cross on.
So that's just interject. There's actually a scooter corral there now, where that car is parked is now surrounded by flexi posts and a bike rack, and actually RCNA just painted it last week.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that update. We were going based off of this. We had not gone into the field as of yet. We wanted to make sure we got that in, but thank you for that update.
Sure.
Thanks for that, Brian. I had forgotten. I was like, that I feel like they did something there.
I think that'll help with the visibility concerns, especially with a lot of the cars that used to park blocking that intersection.
Yeah, that'll be great.
So there's one. The next one I'm going to cover is 1630 Euclid Street. The service request is 2000424773. And we actually had a question for you all. I know that the language was similar to others, except when we were looking at this intersection, because Euclid, on this strip, it's not a local road. To minimize speeding, we cannot install speed humps. It's a collector road, so we want to know what we can do to work with you all to make sure we're helping minimize speeding. We were looking if you all want more signage, we can go ahead and do that. There's the bike lane is still on the 1600 block. We'll make sure that that's remarked. But in terms of minimizing speeding, again, MPD can help with enforcing to go ahead and ticket the cars. But on DDOT's end, what we can do, is there more signage you all want? Like I said, we cannot install speed humps on that strip.
Thanks for that. Commissioner Clem, I think that this is not your SMD, but given that it's Reed Cook, you might have some thoughts on this. I know that this is a challenging intersection or challenging block of Euclid because of the backup that occurs during rush hour. And right, there's like the interaction between the light at 16th Street and crossing that, and now I'm just ranting. Commissioner Clem, do you have any thoughts?
Which intersection is this? Euclid and what?
It's the 1600 block of Euclid Street.
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, I would think that repay. I mean, I looked at tops the other day, Cynthia, and I couldn't figure this out. Is Euclid going to be paved soon? I say that because I think that paving and striping and repainting the sharrows would probably go a long way. And I also think that a no turn on red at that intersection would be good for bike safety. And there's no bike box there. Because there's a right turn on red, you often get people who cut off the bike lane in the last bit before 16th Street. So that's a safety issue too. I also, just in general, there are no 20-mile-an-hour signs in Reed Cook. So if we can't do speed humps, we certainly would like some 20-mile-an-hour signs, or 15 would be better, but whatever we can get. It could be 15. We're right around that area is right around the corner from HD Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for example, I think what Commissioner Clem is pointing out, if you look at the intersection looking eastbound on Euclid at 16th Street, a number of the cars in that street view are encroaching into the bicycle lane. And I don't know if that's because they're planning to turn right or simply because that's where they're stopped. But if there was a bike box at the front of that intersection, at least it would allow the people riding bikes to get out into the middle of the street, as opposed to waiting in the bike lane there to be hit by a vehicle. And that would also be helpful in them getting across 16th Street to the bike lane ahead.
Yeah, and if there was a bike box and no turn on red, I would think that the light would have to be retimed because, to your point about rush hour, the cars get backed up all the way to Mozart and even sometimes to 17th Street during rush hour. So those are all considerations.
Okay, great. I'll make sure to note those and flag those to our safety team this week. Let me go ahead. Okay, that's all I have for that one. For the 2300 block of Ontario Road, let me go ahead and pull up that service request. It is 2000424 and I know there were a few in this area as well. Let me go ahead and pull this up.
Yeah, you're probably thinking of, there was Reed Cook put a couple of requests in about these blocks, and our understanding at the time, and it might still be relevant, is that you could only do a TSA for one block at a time. So so Reed Cook got together and just did like 10 TSAs for essentially, or whatever, you know what I mean? So there are a bunch around there.
No, we saw that. And then when we were discussing it, we just went ahead and physically stapled the request together to make sure when we were talking about it, we were talking about that general area, so it all made sense. So when I'm sharing the updates, and again, just so it makes more sense, I'll be sure to include that summary also in the email I send out this week to you all, just so, like I said, it makes sense, and I include the service requests that we're lumping in together, at least for your record, so you're aware which ones those are. But for the 2300 block of Ontario Road, we see that site distance is a concern. So let me start on this further end. As of now, there is an always stop, and I'm looking at Ontario Road where Calorama Road is as well. And if I'm pulling this up correctly, where the cleaners is at that intersection, I'm viewing this on Street View, by the way, where that intersection is, there is a no parking sign as well as an RPP sign facing the left side and a 12 miles per hour speed limit because of the school zone sign as well. That whole pole will be moving back a few feet to be in compliance with the sidewalk, so to make sure it's 20 feet away. But because the tree is there too, we want to make sure we trim those branches to make sure that sign is visible for cars that are parking there, as well as just in case a big truck parks there again. We wanted to make sure we think about that at all these intersections because that's a store. We don't know if they get deliveries or what their services look like. So we want to make sure that that's not blocked by other cars, especially the no parking sign, because we don't want cars blocking the crosswalk. So just so you know, that's something that will be changed at that intersection. So those two, as well as the markings at the stop sign. So this is right across the street from the cleaners that I'm looking at now, just to make sure it makes sense as I'm speaking about it. So the stop sign is there. We will go ahead and reemphasize the markings of that hard stop to make sure cars are stopping at that crosswalk, at that stop sign, excuse me, and acknowledging the crosswalk that's there and making sure that pedestrians are safe at that area. The sign will not be moving on that side. To my understanding, it's enough distance from the stop sign, but if it does move, I'll go ahead and give you all that heads up once the safety team measures that physically they have measured it, but want to go ahead and make sure everything is good to go, and what other changes are coming there.
And those are specifically the stops, the signs on Ontario, or the ones both on Ontario and Calorama?
Yes, it's all the stop signs, so the stop signs would not be moving. It would be the physical poles that note where people can park and cannot. It would be those signs that would be moving just to add space, or add distance to where cars are parked. And so the sight distance is not blocking those stop signs. So for example, if a truck parked, that stop sign would still be visible to cars as they're coming closer to the crosswalk.
Great, thank you.
And that's a lot of what we've been looking at for all the intersections, because I know that for specifically the big bulk of TSAs that came in December from Reed Cook and the ANC, most of them mentioned sight distance. So that's what we've been looking at to see if we can go ahead and push back the signs a few feet that are indicating no parking to allow more room for sight distance for all the stop signs. So just to keep that in mind, I'll make that note, like I said, when I send that follow-up email, but that's something that'll be happening at a lot of the intersections. And again, for 2300 Ontario, something that we were considering for the block to minimize speeding as well is speed humps. I mean, it is a local road, but the safety team has to go out there and look to make sure that the hill is in compliance to have the speed humps installed. If it is too steep, then they cannot be installed. But I'll go ahead and send that follow-up to you all once they go out later this month, if not early next month, to go ahead and measure that. But just to let you all know if the speed humps are coming in that area or not, I'll give you the heads up. And again, the service request that this was also attached to when we were looking at it is 2000424788. So the updates are similar because the area was close together. So a lot of the changes I just mentioned will also be coming, will also be attached to that service request. And again, none of them are being closed out simply because they're actively being worked on, even if we're lumping them together internally. That's just so we understand which corridor we're measuring or what changes we're bringing together to make sure that the intersection makes sense or the neighboring blocks make
Cynthia,
sense
two
together.
quick things. What could you repeat that SR request number?
Yes, I'm sorry. It's 2000424788.
Great, thank you.
Cynthia, oh, sorry, go.
No,
Commissioner, sorry.
Please, Commissioner Clem.
Cynthia, what if I understand that there is some thing about speed humps on a hill, but I'm wondering if speed humps can't work, could we would it be a different TSA, or could we get a stop sign at Old Morgan School Place?
Was that something that you all mentioned in this questionnaire as a possibility?
I'm not sure. We mentioned traffic calming measures, and I would think that a stop sign in the middle of the road would be a traffic calming measure when it's a 1 block from a elementary school.
Okay, I'll go ahead and mention that to the safety team, that that's something that you all are open to having too if the block doesn't meet the criteria for the speed humps because of the steepness. And I'll go ahead and get back to you all on that, but thank you for that feedback too. I made a note of it.
Great, yeah, that was gonna be my question as well, is what is do you happen to know, Cynthia, what the gradation is that is too steep for speed humps?
I believe it's 8%, but I don't want to misspeak. I'll let the safety team make that determination, and then once they tell me the exact reason, I'll share that language with you all as well.
Cool. I was always wondering that because I have heard different things about whether or not, whether or not speed humps can be put in. Sorry about that. Are there other updates that you had, Cynthia, or?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was pulling something up.
Oh.
I am pulling up the service request for 2425 17th Street Northwest, but we're also looking into that with the, like I said, we put some together at least internally, so it made sense when we're looking at a general area, but just to let you know, we've lumped that in with Ontario Road as well as Euclid Street, because they intersect on both sides. Let me go ahead and pull up that service request, so I can.
200424769.
Yeah, I just saw that on my end. Yeah, that's the one for 2425 17th Street. And then let me go ahead and pull up. So 17th and V Street Northwest, the service request is 1900967928. The review is complete for that. The recommendations were sent internally, and the signage and the posts are moving forward right now. We have the work orders in the sign shop, and parking signs will be relocated. So as I mentioned before, the parking signs will be pushed back. The same thing is happening at this intersection. And
That's the 17th and V.
Yes, 17th and V Street.
Yep.
Pavement markings will also be added to help with visibility, and to make sure that stops are adhered to. And flex posts will also be added to this intersection.
Great. I should
Do
get.
you have any questions on this one?
I should get council member involved in the TSAs more often.
Oh, I didn't know she was involved in this one.
An email went out yesterday, wondering why.
Got it.
Wondering what had happened to this request.
Got it. Okay, then I have to send her the update on this one too. But I'm glad that she's going to be happy with these changes as well. Let me see, which other one do I have next? So 1800670911. It's Columbia Road and Ontario Road Northwest.
Oh, I don't think I have that one. Let's see. What was it one more time?
1800670911.
Okay, that's new to me, so I'd love to hear about it.
Great. Well, the investigation was done, and DDOT is installing a one-way sign and no left turn signs on Ontario Road.
One-way
Cynthia, the no left turn sign is on Columbia going to Ontario or going?
Let me pull up the map. So
right, this is where Ontario jogs over at the WABA.
Right, but currently you can take a left turn there
Currently, you
onto Columbia Road.
can, from Ontario.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to know from where you're not taking the turn.
I'm looking at the intersection right now. So I spoke with the safety team on the others. This one had the note already on the changes they're making. I actually don't know where exactly it's being installed, and I don't want to misspeak. So I'll follow up with them and just let you all know where exactly the sign is going to be installed when I follow up with all the updates from tonight.
So you said there's going to be a one-way sign in one location, which is probably northbound Ontario Road, or perhaps it's a do not enter on from the north side. And then you said that there's going to be a no left turn somewhere at that intersection.
Yes, it says no left turn sign for Ontario Road.
Yeah, so that must be from Columbia to Ontario. But
More than likely,
if you could follow up, that'd be really helpful.
yeah, I just don't want to confirm until they give the green light exactly on where it's going. Which other one? And for 2456 20th Street Northwest, let me go ahead and give you that service request. It's 19,000,66953. Did you get the service request, or would you like me to restate it?
That's at 2456 20th Street.
Yes, that's correct.
This also I don't think I'm aware of.
I was able to get some updates. Excuse me?
Yeah, that's another new one to me. So what is the update there?
So after the safety inspection, one right turn only sign will be installed and one lane control sign will be installed as well. As soon as I have the timeline for that, I'll let you know, but the work orders have been submitted to the sign shop.
Sorry, what was the second installation?
A lane control sign.
Oh, lane control. What does that mean?
2, 4, 5. Based on the layout of the street, it's probably indicating which way to go to turn left and which way to go to turn or to keep going straight onto 20th Street or to continue upward on Biltmore. So just a sign with the arrows of which direction to go to.
Oh, I see. Thanks. Gordon posted that a lane ends, for example. So this is the intersection of 20th and Biltmore.
Yes, that's correct.
I get it. And so we're making sure Biltmore is one way there from Calvert. And so making sure that a vehicle doesn't go straight.
Yes, that's correct. I think that was also one of the concerns because I would say it's like the triangle area. And a lot of the cars may turn the wrong direction when they're looping around that.
Cool. That's another new one to me, so thank you.
Let me see which one is next. There are actually 3 we spoke about at the last meeting. We looked to see if there were any service requests and we could not find any. And again, I just want to touch base with you all before recommending submitting a new request, and then the TSA process would begin from that date. Do you all have any service requests for the 2300 block of Champlain Street, Adams Mill Road Northwest and Ontario Road, and the 19 to 2000 blocks of Columbia Road Northwest? I know you shared the resolutions. I'm not sure I saw any service requests on them, and I also did not find any in our system for those areas.
I will yield to Commissioners Faulkner and Arani, who submitted those requests on behalf of their constituents.
Could you say which
One
request?
more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I missed the full.
Yeah, no problem. It's 3. It's 1, the 2300 block of Champlain Street Northwest, 2, Adams Mill Road and Ontario Road Northwest, and 3, the 19 to 2000 block of Columbia Road Northwest. Again, I have the resolutions you all shared, but we don't have any service request records of any of those TSAs.
So for, I think it's Adams Mill Road in Ontario Place actually is that one. And that one actually predates me. And so I can give you the service request. I actually created one the other day because I couldn't find any record of it being created when it was originally submitted last fall. So I have a new service request number because I'm not sure that there was one. But yeah, that's the only one in my district, and I will put that in the chat in 1 second.
I'm sorry, could you say it only because I'm on the phone and I'm not able to see the chat?
Oh, right. Yes. I'll email it to you, Cynthia, or I can say it. I guess I can say it. Yeah, sorry. That's right.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that. So this is for Adams Mill Road and Ontario Place. Sorry, it's taking me a moment. So this one is 21-00293262.
Thank you so much.
And Cynthia, the 2300 block of Champlain, I think you might have given that to me earlier. You might have given that to us earlier tonight. Right. That is, thank you, Commissioner Clem. That's the 2000424788.
4, 7. Got it. Okay, I have it listed as 2300 Ontario Road on my end, so I'll go ahead and make that edit. Thank you. And then for the 19 to 2000 block of Columbia Road Northwest, is there a service request record for that?
So Cynthia, I don't recall a service request record for that. However, I do recall a completed TSA being on an email thread, that being sent over, the TSA questionnaire form being signed and sent over. So let me just pull that up, and in there I can give you the SR. There it is. All right. So the SR, there's 2 SR numbers. Whenever you're ready, I can read them off.
Yeah.
2100173700, and then the next one is 2000435330.
That's 2000435330.
Correct. And then the other one, do you want to read that one back?
21001730.
73700.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
follow up on those two requests, on those two service requests.
Perfect. Perfect.
The one from 2020 is a roadway repair. It's at that, I think it's at, I don't know, that number, Commissioner, is for Connecticut Avenue outside of our,
What I have, Cynthia, what I'm reading this off of are the service request numbers put into the TSA questionnaire that a resident had filled out and that we had approved. And it was a rather detailed
so,
TSA.
so you're right. So I think that the traffic safety investigation number, I mean, like, Commissioner, they are both important and useful SRs, but the one that is linked to the traffic safety investigation is the one from 21.
Okay, that makes sense. I do recall the one from this year. Don't get me wrong. I know that it has been acknowledged. I think internally, Lisa Robinson has sent an acknowledgement letter. I just wanted to go ahead and double check if there was not a service request perhaps that the ANC had that was unanswered from 2020, 2019, or any time before that. That's why I wanted to go ahead and follow up on that intersection.
Right. Okay. And in addition to the TSA, there was a resolution that was passed. And I believe you have a copy of that, but I'm happy to forward that.
Yes, I do have a copy of it. That's why I wanted to go ahead and follow up to see if perhaps when the resolution was signed and passed, if a TSA was submitted alongside of it, but like prior to. So I wanted to make sure if in case there was, I wanted to go by that service request number, if there was one filled out versus the one dating for a few weeks ago, if that makes sense.
Right. I think I follow. So
basically, if one was submitted years ago, I wanted to go by that number versus one a few weeks ago. But because there was not one submitted before and you all confirmed that, we'll go ahead and follow the one that was submitted a few weeks ago. I just wanted to make sure I honored whichever one.
Oh, got you. Okay. Sure. Yep.
The only one that I think is still missing, Cynthia, on my list is, do you have any record of the TSA from the intersection of Adams Mill Road and Clydesdale Place?
Adams Mill Road and Clydesdale.
And I don't know, Commissioner Faulkner, if you submitted a 311 and got an SR number when because this was from you, because this was just from February.
Yes, I have one that I think the person who had filled it out had originally done one, but she now couldn't find her original service request number. So I think she did not realize she would need it 6 months later. So I let me pull that up again. I did also submit another one, but I also am not clear on whether we received one when we submitted it to DDOT, because I know that Commissioner Ronnie submitted it in February. So I'm not sure if there's another one, but I can provide the alternate.
Yeah, so Cynthia, I know that was that was another one that I mentioned to you. So I don't know if you were able to find that in the interim.
I did not see that on our system. I'll do one last check to see if Lisa has sent an acknowledgement letter to whoever generated that service request. If there isn't one, then I'll touch base with her tomorrow. And if there isn't one, I'll let you all know as well, so we can go ahead and generate a new service request so we can get that TSA done as soon as possible.
So Commissioner Faulkner has already done a new one. So if you cannot find the original, the one to follow would be 21-00293256. And thank you, Commissioner Faulkner, for that.
Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and actually see if I can see if this was flagged as a duplicate or not in our system. That's 2100293256.
3256.
2100293256.
3256.
Yeah, 3256. I put that. I put that into the 311 system. It says no service request found.
So 21-00-29-3256.
Yeah, I put in that number. I'm just getting
Yeah,
an error.
I'm getting something on the website for 311. So maybe that's something we'll just follow up with you with that number in case you're transcribing it. If you're not, in case it's not coming through when I'm speaking, because at least on the 311 website is showing it and showing that's a traffic safety investigation.
That's where I'm looking it up right now, just so I can get the exact address that was inserted when the request was put in. I'll look into it and get back to you on Adams Mill and Clyde's Place just to see if there's anything internally for that intersection.
Great. One question that was raised today. So it's my understanding that a TSA requires a commissioner's approval in order for it to be moved forward in your system. But I think Commissioner Clem might have heard differently today, or if you could clarify that, because all of the DDOT literature says it is one commissioner.
You cut out towards the end, but I'm assuming the premise of the question was whether ANC approval is needed or not for a TSA, and the answer is yes. For all TSAs, an ANC approval is needed. For most, an email would suffice, but for requests such as wanting to convert a street to a one-way street when it's currently a two-way street, a resolution would be needed.
So I guess the question that I have is that that I would note that all DDOT literature says that a commissioner has to approve. And so I don't know if it is, is it a new development that the full ANC needs to approve, or am I misreading, or rather, I guess, where is the difference here?
From my understanding, it would only be specific requests that would require the entire ANC. Like I said, for a two-way street to be converted one way, it would be an entire ANC commission resolution that would be needed. So that would be an instance where everyone would need to be on board with that. But for more specific requests, an email from the commissioner of that SMD would suffice. I've done that internally where I've looped in the commissioner, and then I've had our team send out the acknowledgement letter. So I don't believe that for things such as moving a parking sign, ANC would have to pass a resolution on that or have the entire ANC approval. But if there are specific questions you have before submitting the TSA, let me know, and I'm happy to answer them.
Sure. Commissioner Clem, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, Cynthia. So I haven't gotten any TSA numbers from the. I mean, I guess I submitted 2 TSAs for my SMD. Am I supposed to go through the ANC to get support for that when I'm the ANC commissioner?
When you say you've submitted them, you have generated the 311 request and sent the questionnaire to the safety email for DDOT?
Yes, and then you had written me back saying that I needed the full ANC support for the 2 TSAs.
Okay, I know which request you're talking about. Let me go ahead and pull up that email chain. I think there was some confusion. I'm happy we're talking about it now, where we thought you were asking for the road to be converted to a one-way street. So that's when the entire ANC would need to pass a resolution and approve it for a one-way conversion.
No, the question that I'm trying to clarify is the fact that DPW is not ticketing cars parked the wrong way in a 2-way entrance. So if DPW doesn't do their job, somebody else needs to do their job. So I'm assuming that DDOT can put some signs up or paint or something else. And that was what I was asking for, is that intersection needs to be clarified, because right now it's being used as a one-way street when it's a 2-way intersection. That's what I'm asking for.
Got it. Okay. I sent a clarification email to Lisa. So she's working on the acknowledgement letter. But again, if more signage is needed, I don't think we need to go through the TSA process, but rather if you're able to submit a 311 request asking for a new roadway sign, feel free to send that number to me, and I'll work with the field operations branch to install more do not enter signs or no parking signs, whatever is needed to make sure that parking is not done that way, especially if it's not a 2-way road, but also working with our partners at DPW to ensure enforcement is done on that strip. I just don't know if a TSA would be the best way to go about that.
Okay, I appreciate that. The reason why I was sending in a TSA was because my 311 requests kept on being closed without any solutions. So that's why I turned to the TSA. So,
which
but we can
just were being.
Yes. Yeah. Requests for clarification of the intersection. You know, what I mean by that is I'm not a DDOT engineer, so I'm just asking for clarification. In other words, I would assume that they could put up signs that say this is 2 ways, or anyway, and we can take this. I can email you more more information on this. I was just confused about the TSA process after our email, but I understand it now. And And I can share with you some of the questions I have about the intersection. Okay.
Right. Well, I'm happy I could help with that. And then just also so you know, with that specific issue, it seems that branches were also a concern. So feel free to let me know if you have a 311 request for the branch collection, and I'll go ahead and work with urban forestry to get those branches removed. And then also feel free to give me a call. I'm not sure if you have my number, but it's 202-359-0284. And I'm more than happy to talk to you at any time with any DDOT concerns you have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Cynthia, Gordon Cheffin, I help everybody out here, the ANC. I have a question about related to the process. So you just articulated that whether the level of ANC support depends on the severity of the change to the street, and that makes sense. But is the point of a TSA also that a lot of people who will ask for them are not traffic engineers and do not know the best traffic calming implement, so they will submit requests for traffic calming. And so in that case where people are asking something broad, and they're just residents and or commissioners who don't know a bollard, a flex post from a K71 bollard. In that case, is it just the commissioner that needs to be notified?
Rather than the entire ANC?
Yeah, you do not need a resolution for what is an open-ended request for traffic safety improvements.
I do not want to say you don't need one. I think from the TSAs that I've worked on so far, and a lot of the commissioners on this call have seen as well, I work with our performance analyst, Lisa, who goes ahead and says, this one is good to go with just the ANC's email that's acknowledging this request from the resident, and we move forward with it. There's others where I just go ahead and include the resolution that perhaps the ANC has already gone ahead and done. So I don't want to say there's no need for one, but rather if the questionnaire is complete and the resident has already sent it directly to DDOT, that's when I go ahead and figure out, can we move forward with this way, or is a resolution needed if there isn't already one? I'm just trying to look for some of the fastest ways we can get the TSA going in our system. I know there's already so many. So again, I don't want to say a resolution is not needed, but rather for some of the, like you mentioned too, for some of the smaller changes like adding additional markings or something like adding flex posts for pedestrian safety at a very particular intersection, if that's something that can just be with the SMD commissioner's approval.
So thank you for that, Cynthia. I really appreciate it. Before I offer the other committee members any questions, a big question I have, and I noted I think there were two places where you said that NOIs were forthcoming or work orders were already in place, but I really think that this was a great help in moving from talking about all the issues last month to laying out what DDOT is going to do, and I appreciated hearing that. Do you have a sense of when the work that we've discussed tonight will take place?
So a lot of it is dependent on one, the manpower. So once I guess a lot of the paving projects are done, how people are working on different markings across the city. Again, I'm not too familiar with, and I'll look into how the marking team is dispersed when doing that. So I'll get back to you on that. But I know with the signage that has to be printed out, once the work order is in the system, it's all in a queue. So it's all dependent on where it is on that queue, basically, to have the signs printed out. But a lot of signs that are common signs, such as no turn on red, there may be some that are already existing, and it's now a question of when they will be installed. So if I do get a timeline on those, I'll be more than happy to share them. I'm just not able to provide one right now, but as soon as I get one, I'm more than happy to share one with you. But again, the NOIs for sure will be coming out by mid-August to go ahead and allow that comment period to start. And again, I don't know if the public health emergency will be extended. If it's not, the comment period will go back to 30 days instead of 51 days. And that's business days.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to ask another question, but while you mentioned the no turn on red sign, I had sent you an email after our walkthrough with Commissioner Bowles, and we were discussing that there used to be a no turn on red sign on westbound Columbia Road at 18th Street, and we had wanted one to return. And in fact, I have a more than 6 month overdue 311 request for a no turn on red sign from westbound Columbia Road, turning onto I guess northwestbound Adams Mill 18th Street. And I don't know if that was something that you had had the chance to look into or knew anything about.
I'll go ahead and follow up on that. I'm sorry, I didn't have an update on that for tonight.
That's okay. Any committee members, any other questions for Cynthia? I'm hearing silence. Well, Cynthia, I always enjoy having you, and this was really useful to hear all these things. And I would appreciate if you're able to send email follow-ups. And I, as you know, I have more questions and can always ask questions. But as it's after 9 o'clock, I think that should be enough for tonight.
Great. Well, I'm always happy to join, and thank you again for allowing DDOT to share tonight. And I will be sure to send that follow-up email later this week to make sure you have it. I'll send it to you, Commissioner Irani, and Commissioner Megan. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your last name. And just to make sure you all have that follow-up. And should I include Commissioner Clem as well?
I think that would be productive. A lot of these things took place in her district, so why not? Unless she doesn't like too much email.
No, I would appreciate all the email. I would like to be inundated with email. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I'm saying that for real.
Great. I'll make sure I keep everyone in the loop then.
Great. Thank you for your time this evening, Cynthia, and I'm sure we'll continue to be in close touch. Commissioner Irani, I saw you came unmuted.
I just wanted to thank Cynthia. I know this has been a lot of work, so just echoing that sentiment.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I've come into a ward with a lot of TSAs, and my goal is just to make sure we can close them out with productive results as fast as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know we've had a lot of turnover in your position, and glad to see that you're sticking with it.
Yes, I was reading an email from the TSA at 17th and V Street, and I think that was 4 specialists ago.
Oh, wow. I can't even think about who that might be.
I think it was a Brand or something like that.
Oh, wait, yeah, I know Brand. He's still with DDOT. That's funny.
Well, anyway, thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you, everyone else. Have a great night, and I guess we'll see you in September.